tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
So I'm back here with Kurt Mexican. I don't know if you saw this, but you know how the Democratic Party, they had a sham of a primary, right, where they moved the original primary from Iowa and New Hampshire to South Carolina. Then they wouldn't let anybody campaign in Iowa or New Hampshire. If you did, they would take away your... It was a crazy rigged process, right? There were ballots where they wouldn't even put people's names on it in certain states. So that's why Bobby Kennedy had to leave, and he ran as an independent. And then after that primary, after they got all the delegates for Joe Biden, which are all what they call insider delegates, right? They're establishment people. Then they kicked him out. So they did a coup. They threatened him with the 25th Amendment, so he had to step down. He didn't do it voluntarily. And then they installed Kamala Harris without getting one vote, without doing one debate, without taking one question from the press. And that's called anti-democracy, right? That's called that's very close to, as Theo Vaughn says, private communism. Because that's the military-industrial complex and the money donor class installing her. And then the media, which they also control, props her up through propaganda to get her elected. So here they are. Here is Governor Gavin Newsom, and they're going to be sitting around giggling about that they didn't have a real primary and that this is really undemocratic. Let's watch.
How are you feeling about the switch?
I mean, the switch. Now we went through a very...
The switch, it's funny.
How you feeling?
How do you feel?
How you feeling?
It's a switch. Do you know what I call fun? Sitting around a table with a bunch of Democratic ops, just having a big laugh at the expense of everything America was supposed to be based on. You know, voting, one man, one vote, democracy, a government responsive to its people. Hey, who needs it? Here we go. Let's play it. Let's go.
How are you feeling about the switch?
I mean, the switch. Now we went through a very open process and a very inclusive process. It was bottom up.
We had an open process. You suckers.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Do you like how at the end of the day it's still going to be a table full of white guys that look like that, laughing about it?
Yeah.
How it works. It don't matter what your progressive bullshit.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's going to be these dudes that look like the mean frat from Animal House are going to be sitting here giggling about how you don't have no choice about nothing.
Kurt, who needs a democratic process when you have a gaggle of a diverse panel of white guys practicing moral yoga with the ethics of the nation? Because that's what they're doing. Here we see Governor Gavin Newsom going into the spider pose. Let's watch that. Here we go.
How are you feeling about the switch?
The switch.
I mean, the switch. Now we went through a very open process and a very inclusive process. It was bottom up. I don't know.
It wasn't any of that. There wasn't an open. It was a closed process by insiders, by party bosses, insiders, and donors and billionaire donors. It wasn't bottom up. It was top down. It was the exact opposite. It's so funny. We screwed the voters again. Those stupid assholes, just like we did in 2016, just like we did in 2020. And man, did we do it right in their faces this time. And they don't say anything. Isn't it funny?
I think bottom up, Jimmy, he means, hey, Democrats, get your face down and your ass up.
Yeah, it's
you know that. Yes, that's what I've been told to say.
Yes, it was a blitz primary, I believe. That's what they called it.
It's a very, very fast blitz. Yes. I think it was a blink primary, so we call that.
A 30-minute convention.
And they all go to the same suit store. I don't know if you noticed that. Isn't that something? They all, hey, why don't we go with a navy blue and a white button down? Okay, sounds good. I mean, navy blue, white button down, navy blue, white button down, navy blue, white button down.
They go to Reptiles of London's.
It's like they went to an Oprah show and it was taped underneath their seats. You get a navy blue button down with a white. You get a navy blue suit with a white button down. You get a navy blue suit with a white button down. Oh, I know.
It's a thing real humans wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, between a tweet and another tweet.
It's amazing how it happened.
Yeah, it's been amazing. But it is amazing.
It's amazing how it happened. It's amazing how it just didn't have any democracy to it whatsoever. It's all a joke to these guys. This is the Pod Save America guys. So
that's who the most trusted.
Yes,
the last of the most trusted name in white guys. You know how white guys aren't that cool and shouldn't be talking and whatever. These guys are okay though. They're the good ones.
So they started that podcast as a reflex to Donald Trump becoming president, and they pretended to be the resistance. You see that they're the establishment, right? You see that that's exactly what these guys are, and they don't give a F about you. They don't get an F about democracy. These people who are putting democracy on the ballot took it off the ballot, and then they're doing this in front of a camera. It'd be one thing if they were doing this in text to each other or at a party. They're doing this on camera in front of microphones. This is how little they think of the people who vote for them. That's how little they think of the people who watch.
I don't blame them.
You ever see the people who actually listen to that show, the Pod Save America show?
Yeah.
They did a live show in New York, and Russell Dobular from New Dissonance went with the camera to interview him. There are brain dead zombies. They sound like Reagan Republicans. They sound like people who would gladly vote for George Bush. There's no class analysis whatsoever. They don't give a shit. They are the suburban white people.
Jimmy, they're dressed like Reagan youth.
Yes.
They're fucking dressed like it. All they've done is take the Reagan Republican thing and all the stuff that was in the closet with those guys, they just do it openly.
Yes.
That's the only difference. It's exact Reagan Republicans, but all their weird, dark perversions are like they have a pride flag for.
They're just having a big laugh about the fact that the political process was flushed down the toilet like cocaine at the White House. That's what this is.
Oh, I could have snorted that. I can't imagine they're happy about that cocaine.
But as long as they're laughing about it, it kind of normalizes it. Nobody should be outraged, right? That kind of makes it okay. Because they're not upset about it, so you shouldn't be either.
Yeah, and they look like they know where the money is based on those haircuts and jackets and shirts.
Yeah. So if they're not upset about it, you shouldn't be upset about it, because you know why? Because you don't actually think for yourself. It's all about how they make you feel. And if they say you should feel okay about it, then you feel okay. Just don't think about it. Because if you thought about it, it might get you outraged.
Do you really have to be conspiratorial, Jimmy, just because a round table of 4 generational Satanists are coming together?
Let's play and so now, and watch what he says at the end here. Gavin Newsom, watch this.
Is how unified everybody is.
He says the real amazing thing, because they go, look, they're all laughing all the way through.
Convention? Yeah, you know, between a tweet and another tweet.
It's amazing how it happened.
Yeah, it's been amazing. But what is amazing is how unified everybody is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's next level.
Hey, black magic does work.
It's amazing how unified. He means the delegates and the people in the party.
Yeah.
The people who were, when I was inside that convention hall, all the people who are elected as delegates, how unified. There wasn't anybody, there was like maybe 20 people, they called themselves uncommitted. The last time I was at a Democratic National Convention, half the people in that room, I would say, I don't know, 8,000 to 10,000 of those people were against the Democratic establishment. They were Bernie Sanders delegates. And they wanted to overthrow the people who, the oligarchy. They wanted to overthrow the establishment of the Democratic Party. This time, he's like, everybody's amazingly unified. They didn't care that they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. They didn't care that nobody got to vote for Kamala Harris. They didn't care. Those people are all, I don't know where those people are that were the 2016 Bernie delegates. Where are they? I don't know where they are. I really don't. Maybe they just dropped out of politics because they got so chagrined over it. Maybe that's what happened. But
hey, you know what, Jimmy? Mind control works until it doesn't. So here's the problem with this. These guys are firmly in the camp because their lives are going great.
Yep.
But everybody else is having a hard time. So I've been involved in a religious cult before. I know exactly how it works.
This is a cult.
Yeah, of course. And why wouldn't you? This is the most exclusive, best cult. Way better than Scientology. Scientology is like a lower class thing compared to this. So once it don't work for you personally no more, that's when you notice the cracks in it. And because these dipshits have eliminated on purpose the middle class, they have no force field. That's why they have to act all paranoid about popularism. They have to get really worried about it because there's not enough of a force field of middle class homeowners to close their eyes to the real problems like there used to be.
Well, I'll play it one more time.
How are you feeling about the switch?
I mean, the switch. Now we went through a very open process and a very inclusive process. It was bottom up. I don't know if you know that. Yes, that's what I've been told to say.
Yes, it was a blitz primary, I believe is what they called it.
It's a very, very fast blitz. Yes. I think it was a blink primary, so we call that.
Oh, a 30-minute convention.
Yeah.
Between a tweet and another tweet.
It's amazing how it happened.
Yeah, it's been amazing. But what is amazing is how unified everybody is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's next level.
Yeah, they even wore the same jackets and shirts. That's how unified they are. We didn't even wear different outfits. That's how together we are.
There's less thinking going on there than in a Mormon convention.
Mormons, I mean, they look like fucking Mormons. That's what
They
they
do.
look like.
That's what I thought about. They look like.
It's like a kid who's like 19 years old, and for some reason his name tag says elder.
Okay, over to Steph.
Okay. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Return to the borderland, to the motherland. The Lorax. Thank you, the Lorax. Hope you have Medhurst on soon, or Jose Vega, Ray McGovern, or Alistair Crook. Much love, guys. Wind Song Willow. What is this? RAUSAFT Med. Thank you. Much appreciated. I'm pissed off. Adam Kissinger on X today. He retweeted my comment with a quote. His bot army is blowing up my X. Please read what I posted that pissed him off. It's on his page. Dexstar Dog. Dexstar Dog. What did you say, Dexstar? Creamy Goddess. Richard should play the race card and sue for discrimination. Use their own BS against these hypocrites. Creamy Goodness. Thank you, Creamy Goodness.
All right, Kurt, come on back.
Back to Jim Jam.
Hold on, you can keep reading. I'm waiting for Kurt to come
all right.
back. Kurt, come on back.
Back to Steph. Look at RFK, man. So inspirational. DVJ. Thank you, DVJ. RFK on Rising sounded like Pelosi on healthcare and Bush on the ME. RFK also lied to JD's face in JD's garage on Palestine. Hard to square that circle. I'm not sure what you're suggesting that he lied to us.
Well, he was definitely pushing Israeli propaganda.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, so I'm not sure what you meant by lie.
Come back.
All right, back to Jimmy.
So RFK Jr., when he gave his speech was it Friday, when he announced that he was dropping out of the swing states and he was going to endorse Donald Trump, CNN cut away from that. And you want to watch how it happened?
I saw. Yeah.
So watch this. I got this from Christy Tallman's Twitter feed. Watch this.
My uncle and my father both relished debate. They prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35
So he's telling you the truth about the horribleness of what the Democratic Party is currently doing. They're installing a president. They're not using a democratic process. They're installing someone after they cooed Joe Biden, who got 14 million votes in the primary. So he's explaining that to you. And she's explaining that Kamala Harris hasn't even taken a question in how many days since she's been installed she hasn't even, I don't know, is it 5 weeks?
Jimmy, I don't care. I'm so afraid of Trump that he's my bin Laden now.
So
do whatever you guys have to do to destroy my freedoms to get that bad bin Laden.
Yep. He's the new. So watch this. So watch as he starts to say this, watch what CNN does. I'll start at the beginning.
My uncle and my father both relished debate. They prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35
We've been
days.
listening to independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from Phoenix outlining what led him to his quixotic quest for the White House to now dropping out and relinquishing the title of
his quixotic.
Oh, so he was tilting at windmills with that all that stuff about the pharmaceuticals and the poisons in the environment. That's all just a windmill.
What's the definition of quixotic?
Don Quixote.
exceedingly idealistic, unrealistic, and impractical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
His
We got
quixotic.
it. Hey.
So they
I mean,
immediately,
he's-
as soon as he starts to tell the truth about Kamala Harris and the horribleness of the Democratic Party's pretend primary and this rigged process they went through, she is installed by the donor class. Billionaires handpicked Kamala Harris to be president. And as he starts to explain that she's not even taking questions, hasn't done an unscripted question even from a voter. See another, whoa, we can't let people know that. And they immediately cut in. And I'm going to play, here's the part they didn't want you to hear. Here's the part they most didn't want. There was a lot of great stuff. His press conference was about healing the health of America, healing the children's health. Half of kids are obese. Only 3% of kids in Japan are obese. Did you know that? He's talking about the corruption of our regulatory, the USDA, the FDA, the CDC, and and Big Agra, and the garbage that they put in our food. Our food is poison. And this is what they did, but this is the most they didn't want you to hear, this part.
Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There, in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days.
Yeah, so all the major news networks are obviously owned by Big Pharma, and it's obvious that they don't mind looking like dishonest pieces of garbage, shutting down someone who is pointing out that they are dishonest pieces of garbage. And that's what they did. Once again, Donald Trump was a gift presented to the Democrats like Venus on the half shell. That's right. I want that image stuck in your head all day. Without Donald Trump, the Democrats would have to come up with something actually relevant to say about who funds them. But go ahead.
He's an astrological sign at this point for them. Who writes the copy that these reporters say? Because it's none of those moron reporters. Who's the person writing that crap when they go his quixotic run for president? I'll bet you that's somebody out of the government. Who the hell is writing that? They have to be directly connected to like Intel or Deep State or somebody, right?
And they cut him off just as he's telling the crowd about how he's being deliberately blocked out of the democratic process. Yeah. And then they interject that his quest is quixotic.
Yeah.
That analogy doesn't even apply because the windmills were not deliberately running defense against every single thing Don Quixote tried to do.
Yeah, right. The windmills were not the establishment powers, were they?
Right.
Like, Europe wasn't ruled by windmills. I mean, now I guess it is in a way.
And just in case there was any doubt in your mind, nothing works as well as just cutting the guy off completely. I mean, look at his numbers. So here was his numbers. So these are all swing states. He was getting 5 points, almost 6%, 5%, 5%, 6%, almost 5, 4.5, 4.5, 4. Those are big numbers. You give
Anybody
those
who liked him, yeah.
You give those numbers to Trump, and he's squashing Harris in all those swing states.
And by the way, I'll bet he's already squashing her without RFK.
I bet,
because
yeah.
I don't believe none of those numbers.
So nothing works better than just cut the guy off. If you want to bring those numbers down, just make sure he doesn't get any. Don't let anybody hear his message. It's like if you want to lose weight, you have to stop eating so much. If you want to lose RFK Jr. from the election, you have to cut down on what he gets to say on television. Because the more he says on television, the more popular he becomes to people.
I don't think they've built up enough of an army of childless gender blob cat people to really pull this off. The people that are not going to notice you just cut him off, they were already voting for Kamala. Like anybody that was liked him and watched you do that, they're going to have the same process that RFK had, or his vice president. watching the chick going for vice president, how she was almost in tears, realizing that the DNC actually is.
You mean?
And you're like, did you not know, sweetie? Is that real? She must have not known.
You mean Shanahan? You mean RFK's vice president?
We were watching it, and I was like, this chick didn't even know.
Like, you didn't know this was like, it was funny to me when RFK came on my show the first time, and I was like, dude, it's a fool's errand. You're running as a, like, how do you not know this? How did you not see what happened to Bernie twice? What do you think they're going to do to you? What do you, this, it just seems silly. But
yeah, they don't. These people, the higher up you go,
they had
the
to.
more
They had
stupid
to,
they are.
They had to experience it themselves.
Yeah.
So they cut. So go to Steph for a second, because I got to load this in for a second.
Jimmy had to come to me for a second, and I saw your comments that I have a scary lighting today, and oh well, that's how it rolls, girls.
So watch this.
All right, back to Jimmy.
So they cut from RFK Jr.'s speech because they don't want to hear him tell the truth about what happened in the Democratic primary, that the donor class installed Kamala Harris, who hasn't taken a question from done an unscripted question from a voter or done an interview with a news person, not even a friendly one. Nothing.
Finally.
Right? So they cut from that, and they cut over to there they are. They cut from that. And who do they cut to? They cut to this guy. Watch this. Watch what he says.
Yeah, I was watching that, and Donald Trump last week stood and said in front of a bunch of groceries and said, I haven't seen any Cheerios in a long time. I had Cheerios for breakfast. This was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And trying to get any logic out of that is good luck with that, because it's...
What?
He's saying that what RFK was saying was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. First of all, he was giving a speech about how seed oils and the food system in America is poisoning everybody, and we have an explosion of chronic disease and obesity, that children in America, half of them are obese. In Japan, it's 3%. He was talking about...
We don't have enough circuses, Jimmy, to put these fatzos in like we used to have. He said they used to go to the circus. He's not making a mean joke. That is literally the fattest man in the world. From back then, you can find the pictures, was like 400 pounds.
Yes.
It was like, that was the fattest man in the world at the time. You'd have to put him in a carnival.
Now, most of the people at the carnival look like that guy.
It's unbelievable. And,
So RFK is giving a very coherent speech. I'm understanding everything he's saying. Everything he's saying, I'm understanding. He's giving a very coherent speech about the health of America, about how to fight back against the corruption of the USDA, the FDA, the CDC, Big Agra, how to get people eating healthy again. He's got a plan, and he's making a case that you never hear anybody make on television. Why? Because television's bought by all those companies that want to give you those poisons. So they cut from him. And they cut to this guy who's trying to make RFK Jr. The first time I heard somebody make sense on television in a long time, tries to make it sound like he's crazy. Watch this. Right. So let me go to Steph for 1 second.
All right, coming back to Steph. Ding, 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 ding. Quinny 7. I'm scared. Hold me, Jimmy. Thank you, Quinny, for your generosity. Seamus, thank you so much, Seamus. Much appreciated, amigo. Let's see. Mediocre Witch, thank you, Mediocre Witch. Much appreciated.
Okay.
Troglodyte, thank you as well. Back to Jim Jam.
So let me show you RFK's speech. Very coherent, very on point. He went from talking about the health of America and how we're being poisoned by our food, which I've been talking about this year a lot. And then he starts to go tell you how bad the anti-democratic Democratic Party is in installing a billionaire-selected Kamala Harris. And then CNN cuts. Watch.
My uncle and my father both relished debate. They prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days.
So that sounds very easy to understand. In fact, I'm enthused about it, and I'm interested in what he has to say. That's very easy to understand. I know what he's saying. Everybody else does too, and it's very powerful. CNN doesn't want you to hear this, so they cut in, right? Watch.
Encounter with voters for 35
We've been
days.
listening to independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from Phoenix outlining what led him to his quixotic quest for the White House to now dropping out and relinquishing the title of...
So they come back, there they are, and they bring on this ham job. And listen to what he says.
Yeah, I was watching that, and Donald Trump last week stood and said in front of a bunch of groceries and said, I haven't seen any Cheerios in a long time. I had Cheerios for breakfast. This was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And trying to get any logic out of that is good luck with that.
So that's called an establishment hack who's paid by those companies that RFK Jr. is talking about is poisoning you, and he's paid by the political parties owned by those companies. So he has to come on and make you think that what he was saying was crazy. He said cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Watch.
Because it's, one, you can't understand what he says. Two, if you can't understand what he says. And
so now he's making fun of his vocal quality. He's now making fun of his voice impediment. He's making fun of a handicap that he has, a physical impairment, which I've been told over and over and over, you're not supposed to do that. Who told me that? CNN. Because when Donald Trump, they said he made fun of someone's handicap, that made him the worst person in the world. We heard that this guy's doing that right now. He's pretending you can't understand what RFK Jr. is saying. I 100% understand what RFK Jr. is saying.
You know what
by
I
the
don't
way,
understand?
What?
Kamala, I've never understood what in the hell
Hell
Kamala
she's
was
saying.
talking about. Once, I can't think of one time that I took an idea away from listening to her babble.
So he says you can't understand what RFK Jr. is saying, and even if you can, you still can understand what he's saying because it's all cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Watch this.
reminded of a line of in Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles when somebody gets up and gives an indecipherable speech. He says, "Who can argue with that? That's authentic frontier gibberish," and that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
So he's calling what RFK Jr. was saying as gibberish. No,
Okay.
that's an act. He has to say that because it's just like when they call you a conspiracy. They're not afraid of lies. The establishment is afraid of the truth, and that's what RFK Jr. was giving people, and people are hungry for that. They're not hungry for bullshit on CNN, which is why this show's more popular than any show on fucking CNN, and why Joe Rogan is 20 times more popular than the whole network. So, because they give you bullshit, and if it wasn't for Donald Trump, nobody would have watched their show. But anyway, he's trying to make you think that well, here it is again.
Yeah, I was watching that, and Donald Trump last week stood and said in front of a bunch of groceries and said, "I haven't seen any Cheerios in a long time. I had Cheerios for breakfast." This was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Now, that's ironic because RFK Jr. was talking about the Trust Stream Media says technically RFK isn't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because they're filled with the exact chemicals in our food supply that he's concerned are making our children unhealthy. And they list the ingredients. Here's the ingredients. Corn syrup, sugar, flavored chips. Also down here, canola oil, palm kernel oil, high fructose corn syrup, fructose. That's the garbage that's poisoning us and making everyone sick. So it's ironic he said cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because that's exactly what RFK Jr. was talking about, and everybody understood what he was saying. And CNN has to lower themselves to insulting his physical handicap. He probably knows about this, and everyone knows lead makes you cuckoo. Cocoa Puffs lawsuit claims breakfast cereal contains dangerous levels of lead. That's from July 23rd of this year.
Well, you got to get your lead in.
A bowl of Cocoa Puffs with 24% more than the recommended serving size contains 0.53 micrograms of lead, the lawsuit says. That's what the lawsuit says. That's at 132% more. So that's from ClassAction.org.
Why would they put lead in it?
ClassAction.org. Now, I can't vouch for the veracity of those numbers, but I'm saying that's what the lawsuit says. John Paul Berg says they're probably aware that they're losing their monopoly on the dissemination of information. Their desperation to smear people with unsubstantiated ad hominem will not work anymore. Their mask is slipping, revealing the vile swill merchants that lay beneath. Well said. Arya says, that guy sounds like a fixer or a lobbyist. That's exactly what that guy is. He either doesn't have kids or he sold his opinion to Big Pharma.
Or he's a hollow shell that somebody writes what he says, like all of those imbeciles on. Not one of them. You saw the guy reading the script, right?
Yeah.
Off his laptop. You saw him reading it. So he didn't write none of that. He just go, quixotic, blah, blah. That's your whole skill being on CNN. Can you read the prompter, right? And then after that, then you try your best to like put a little spin on it like a kid doing a kindergarten report.
You want to hear a real doctor who has a #1 selling book he wrote with another doctor who's his sister, who graduated at the top of her medical school class at Stanford. They wrote a book. Called Good Energy. It's a woman named Casey Means, MD, graduated at the top of her class, and Kaylee Means. That's her brother. They wrote this book called Good Energy. It's all about nutrition. And he came on to talk about RFK Jr.'s quest to make us healthy again. And listen to what he said. Now, you hear the hack from CNN. Listen to what an actual doctor says.
Co-founder of TrueMed and author of the best-selling book, Good Energy, Callie Means, joins us now. Callie, good morning. It was a remarkable night last night. Twitter is blowing up. A lot of Democrats very angry at what's happening, obviously. But talk to me about what you think this...
Oh, by the way, reminds me of a joke Rob Schneider made. He said the Democrats haven't... When RFK dropped out and endorsed Trump, Roseanne tweeted out, the Democrats haven't been this angry since Lincoln ended slavery. Right? So that's very funny. Turns out that's Rob Schneider's joke.
Oh.
Did you know that, Kurt?
No.
I didn't either. Yeah, here we go.
Partnership, this endorsement will actually mean for this idea of making America healthy again.
Well, Rachel, you've been saying it for over a year. The childhood chronic disease epidemic is the sleeper issue of this campaign. And last night, the forgotten child was thrust squarely into the national conversation. And from my small vantage point, I can tell you that these two men bonded over questions about what's happening to Americans' children. Why are 50% of American teens overweight or obese when it's only 3% in Japan? Why is the American Academy of Pediatrics pushing Ozempic on 6-year-olds instead of healthy food? Why have autism rates gone up orders of magnitude in the past 20 years without changes in screenings? Why have cancer rates been exploding among kids? Why does America have the earliest puberty rate among children among any country in the world because of our endocrine disrupting foods that are in our food supply and our environment? These questions are at the core, I think, of what's been propelling RFK, what's been propelling Trump, what really is the defining political issue in the country, which is this populist frustration with our institutions. And the institutions that profit from sick kids are on notice right now.
Wow, that guy sounds like he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, well, you know what they sound like? They sound like Fox News now, because they're obviously back in Trump. They're going to pretend to care about kids being injured by things when it's that stupid prick Scalia that wrote the decision about why you can't sue the vaccine makers, right?
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's an Antonin Scalia.
I'm gonna give them kudos. They're covering it. They're telling people.
By all means, cover it. Cover it by all means. I don't want to take away from that. But it's funny to watch the network that fired Tucker for talking about vaccines in Ukraine.
It is funny. That's a good.
We must really be coming down to the wire for them to switch over like this. But good. Hey, glad to have you telling the truth.
Yes.
I'm sure it won't be for long.
Yes, just like Cornel West came out and said he wants a vaccine and a COVID commission. Glad to have you.
That's a panic. That's panic instruction because of RFK.
Yes. So anyway, so that's a guy who's got the #1 selling New York Times book on health and nutrition, talking about the exact same things RFK Jr. is talking about. But the guy at CNN will tell you that's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Did you see the other? I can't remember what news show was on. He goes, I feel sorry that his wife has to sleep with him. Really? This guy in great shape, RFK Jr.?
Yeah, I know.
You don't feel sorry for Tim Walz and Kamala giving each other a firm, the Tim Walz wife firm handshake that he.
Who do you think has better tits, J.D. Vance or Tim Walz? I gotta go Tim. I gotta go Tim Walz, more feminine. Anyway, the point is, I forget what the point is. We're gonna jump to Rumble now.
We sure are, Jimmy.
We're gonna jump to Rumble, and guess what? What you want me to read something? We're gonna bring in Kurt. You can stick around for this. We have another guest coming on. He's pilots for 9/11. Is it 9/11 Truth? Is that what it's called? Oh,
Yes.
9/11 pilot whistleblowers.
He's
Wait
the
a minute,
director.
that sounds like a truther, Jimmy. And as you know, I am a 9/11 liar.
All right,
You
let's
don't
go.
want to be a truther, do you?
You don't want to be a truth. They've made the term truth toxic. That's how.
Ew, a truther.
Oh,
I'm a good person.
you
I'm
like-
a liar.
I like the lies.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Over to let's go to Rumble, and
Mhm.
we'll be right back. Check us out on Rumble.
Did you get some good pictures out here today? Yep. There's some hot girls over there too if you want to take pictures.
Thankfully, my wife doesn't understand what you say.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit
Isn't it swell? The memes make themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, you know, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, you know, the babies that have been murdered, you know, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us. But past that, to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, you know, money poor people. You know, this government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But you know, something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. You know, we don't really know what war is. You know, for black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, you know, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison. But they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, you know, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, you know, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators. And they're going to have riots on their hands. You know, they're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. You know, we have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating, you know, what we need, what needs to be done. And, you know, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. I mean, you know, don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, you know, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, you know, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, you know, this system and those backing the officials running the system, you know, want people to believe that revolution means violence, you know, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it. Then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just MOVE babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, you know, making a quick buck, you know. I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, you know, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, you know, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. You know, how long are people going to sit back and beg, you know, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years all you've gotten is a slap in the face? All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.